New Hampshire Attorney General John Formella raised some eyebrows at the State House this last week when he made the decision not to charge or prosecute anyone in connection with the anti-vaccine mandate protest last September that shut down an executive council meeting on the St. Anselm College campus. Formella determined that there appears to be probable cause. Some protesters broke the law by obstructing government administration and engaging in disorderly conduct that day. However, the AG essentially said he's not going to move forward with any charges because he doesn't think the case can be won in court. So let's take a look at what we recorded that morning, and specifically regarding the case for obstructing government administration. That law reads, quote, "A person is guilty of a misdemeanor if that person uses intimidation, actual or threatened force or violence, simulated legal process, or engages in any other unlawful conduct with a purpose to hinder or interfere with a public servant." Now watch here as one protester shouts out exactly what the plan is to prevent the state from accepting the federal vaccine funding. We don't want the money, so we won't let them vote. And what was said there at the end was a reference to an earlier public meeting held by New Hampshire DHHS that was shut down by protesters as well. So he's essentially reminding everyone of the tactics used previously to achieve his desired outcome. But again, according to the Attorney General, he's just not able to prove in court that this was obstruction of government administration. Now, it's possible an attorney for the protester in question here could say, where's the intimidation? Where's the actual or threatened force or violence? Well, here's more of what this same protester was saying to government officials, members of the press, and citizens in the room that morning.
Yeah, we know where you live. We know where you live.
Lawyers tell us that one actually does not meet the standard for criminal threatening in New Hampshire because it was not followed up with specific language saying exactly what might be done to break the law if this individual did show up at someone's home. Nonetheless, not exactly a polite invitation to continue with civil discourse. And that wasn't the only threat made that morning. This individual also shouted that he would die on his feet before begging on his knees for federal funding, all while aggressively confronting state employees and civilians in a manner several people in the room thought could lead to some kind of violence. You can see people were avoiding making eye contact with this individual to try to avoid escalating the situation. When the Executive Council returned to the room to announce it was canceling the meeting because state employees had left in fear for their safety, this man yelled, quote, "Mission accomplished," several times, and then this.
They're afraid. They should be afraid. They should be afraid.
Again, according to the Attorney General, not enough evidence to prosecute obstruction of government administration here. And what's unique in this situation is that the man declaring his case insufficient, John Formella, witnessed at least some of this conduct, including that last comment that public employees and public officials should be afraid for their safety, afraid to take a vote, afraid to conduct the people's business, afraid. Fear won the day on September 29th, 2021. The Executive Council meeting was canceled. Ironically, had these protesters not shut down the meeting, they would have seen the Republican majority of the council vote to reject the vaccine funding just as they desired. That happened 2 weeks later. And at that meeting, many of these same protesters were arrested and charged for conduct that was nowhere near the level of what you just saw and heard. Indeed, the protesters themselves have asked how those cases can be prosecuted now if the Attorney General contends that the conduct at the September meeting didn't even rise to the level of criminal charges. We asked the AG to explain his decision, and we received a reiteration of his original press release, saying essentially he's not filing charges because there's just not enough evidence to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. That may be the case. He's the Attorney General. But it's also the case now that his decision means there will be no accountability for the conduct exhibited that day. And the Executive Council and everyone who attends its meetings will be left to judge for themselves and their own safety all of the possibilities contained in the phrase, "They should be afraid."